Your face feels puffier than it should. Your skin doesn't bounce back the way it used to. That 3 p.m. crash hits, and it feels less like tiredness and more like your body actually aging in real time. Your joints ache a little more than last year, and you can't point to any single reason why. Here's what's strange. Two 40-year-olds can eat the exact same amount of sugar in a day, and one of them ages visibly faster than the other. Same food, same calories, completely different aging speed. The difference isn't what they eat. It's how long their blood sugar stays simmering throughout the day. There's a hidden process happening inside your blood vessels and skin right now, and it explains why your body might be aging faster than your actual age. Think about that for a second. Not what you eat, not how much. Just how long your blood sugar sits high before it comes back down. That single detail is quietly shaping how fast your skin, your joints, and your energy are wearing out. Plus, that denonulation the lobligate. There's a specific chemical process behind it, one most people have never heard of, and once you see it, you'll never look at your morning coffee the same way again. Picture your bloodstream like a kitchen. Sugar comes in, and your body treats it like a hot pan that needs to go back on the cool rack quickly. When you drink something sugary in one sitting, that pan heats up fast, then cools back down. Normal. Manageable. Your body has handled that trade for as long as humans have eaten fruit. But here's what changes everything. If you sip a sugary latte over 2 hours, or graze on crackers, granola bars, and juice throughout the morning, that pan never goes back on the rack, it just stays hot. Blood sugar rises, and instead of dropping back to baseline, it hovers, elevated, simmering. That word matters, because simmering is exactly what's happening inside your blood vessels while you sip. Now here's where it gets interesting. While your blood sugar is elevated, sugar molecules floating in your bloodstream start bumping into proteins, and every so often, one sticks. Literally attaches itself to a protein and doesn't let go. This is not a metaphor. This is a real chemical reaction happening in your blood right now, called glycation. The sugar molecule fuses onto a protein and forms something called an AG, short for advanced glycation end product. Fitting name, because that's exactly what these things do. They age you. Think of your collagen, the protein that keeps skin springy and blood vessels flexible, like a brand new rubber band. Stretchy, resilient, bounces right back. Now imagine leaving that rubber band out in the sun for months. It gets stiff, cracks form, it doesn't snap back the way it used to. That's what AGs do to collagen, except instead of sunlight, the damage comes from sugar molecules gluing themselves onto the protein fibers, one sticky bond at a time. Here's the part most people never think about. Every extra hour your blood sugar stays elevated is another hour these sticky compounds have the opportunity to form. It's not about one spike, it's about total exposure time. A sharp spike that returns to baseline in 30 minutes gives sugar molecules a narrow window to attach to proteins. A slow sip that keeps blood sugar elevated for 3 hours gives them a 3-hour window instead. Same sugar, wildly different amount of glycation happening in your tissue. This is why the skin losing its bounce and developing fine lines earlier than expected isn't just about age and years. It's about how much time your collagen has spent marinating in elevated blood sugar. Stiffened collagen doesn't spring back the way fresh collagen does, and that shows up on your face as looking a little more tired, a little less elastic, even when you slept fine and did nothing dramatically wrong. Now, why does this feel so mismatched with how we actually live? Your body's sugar handling system evolved in a world where food came in distinct meals, often separated by hours of nothing. Spike, then quiet. Spike, then quiet. That rhythm gave your body predictable windows to clear sugar and return to baseline. Modern life doesn't work that way. Constant grazing on snacks, sipping coffee for hours, sugary drinks nursed across a commute. These create a pattern your body never had to handle before. Blood sugar doesn't spike and settle. It rises and plateaus, rises again, plateaus higher. Your body has no efficient shutoff switch for that. It just keeps simmering, and every minute of simmering is another minute of glycation quietly happening in the background. And skin is only the visible part. The same sticky bonding process happens inside your blood vessels. Blood vessel walls have their own collagen-like structure that needs to stay flexible so vessels can widen and narrow as blood pressure shifts throughout the day. When AGs accumulate there, vessels stiffen the same way skin does. This is one reason blood pressure can creep upward over the years, even without any single dramatic event. Nobody feels their blood vessels stiffening in the moment. It's silent, but it's the same mechanism, just happening somewhere you can't see it in the mirror. There's a second consequence running alongside the physical stiffening, and it's inflammation. Every time your immune system detects these age compounds building up in tissue, it treats them like foreign invaders and mounts a small defensive response. Not a dramatic one. Not a fever or swelling you'd notice. A low simmer of its own, happening quietly in the background, day after day. This chronic low-grade inflammation is now believed to be one of the common threads running through much of what we casually call aging. This is where those afternoon crashes start making a lot more sense. That 3 p.m. wall that feels heavier than plain tiredness, that fog that rolls in after lunch, lines up remarkably well with the inflammation and blood sugar swings happening underneath. And the achiness in your joints that seems to show up earlier each year, the stiffness that wasn't there a few years ago, follows a similar pattern. Joint tissue has its own proteins vulnerable to this same sticky glycation process, and low-grade inflammation tends to make joints feel more irritated and less limber than they actually are structurally. So now picture our two 40-year-olds again. Same total sugar, same calories, same meals even. One drinks their sugary coffee in 10 minutes with breakfast, and their blood sugar spikes, then returns to baseline within an hour or two. The other sips the identical drink slowly from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., keeping blood sugar elevated for that entire stretch. Same input. Completely different amount of time spent in the danger zone, where glycation and inflammation actually happen. One body simmers for 10 minutes, the other simmers for 3 hours. That gap, repeated daily for years, is the hidden fork in the road separating how fast two identical-looking lives quietly diverge. Here's the good news buried inside all of this. Your body already has an off switch for this entire process. You don't need to install anything new. You just need to stop interrupting the switch from doing its job. That off switch is simple. Blood sugar spikes, then returns all the way back to baseline. When that full return happens, the window for sugar molecules to go bumping into proteins and forming those sticky Ag compounds closes. Glycation doesn't get an open invitation. Inflammation doesn't get fed a steady stream of triggers. The fire gets lit, burns for a bit, then goes out completely. That's the difference between a quick flare and a slow simmer that never quite turns off. So think back to those two 40-year-olds. The one who drank their sugary coffee in one sitting, gave their body a clear task with a clear endpoint, spike, process, return to baseline, done. The one who sipped the same drink across 3 hours, never gave their body that clear endpoint. Every 15 minutes, another small dose arrived, just as blood sugar was starting to drop, and the whole system got told, keep the burner on. Nothing extreme happened. No one made an obviously bad choice. The only difference was timing. Which brings us to the actual shift, and it's smaller than you'd expect. When you're going to have something sugary, a coffee, a juice, a granola bar, try having it in a shorter window, ideally alongside a meal, rather than floating on its own. Drink the latte with breakfast instead of nursing it from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eat the granola bar as part of lunch rather than as a standalone snack an hour before. Then, and this is the part that actually matters most, let some real time pass before the next bite or sip. Give your blood sugar the chance to fully come back down before you send it up again. That's the entire reset, not eliminating sugar, not overhauling your diet, not counting anything, just shrinking the window and then stepping back to let your body finish its own job. It's worth sitting with something for a second. None of what's been happening to your skin, your energy, your joints was a sign that something in you is broken or failing early. Your body has been doing exactly what it's built to do, responding predictably to however long blood sugar stays elevated. The puffiness in your face, the crash at 3 p.m., the ache in your knees that showed up sometime in the last couple of years, these were never random decline. They were your body simmering under a pattern it never got a real break from. That's a very different story than aging badly. That's just biology, waiting for a slightly different rhythm. So here's something to actually pay attention to, not as a promise, just as an experiment. Over the next week, try shrinking the window on your sugary drinks and snacks, and see what you notice. Does the 3 p.m. crash still feel as steep, or does it soften slightly? Does your face feel a touch less puffy by the end of the week? Small things, not transformations, just information your own body will hand you if you're paying attention. Because here's what this was really about the whole time. The habit that quietly ages you was never about how much sugar you had. It was about how long you kept your blood sugar simmering, and now you know the one small shift that turns down the heat. Not less sugar, just a shorter window, and a little patience before the next sip.